You're looking fabulous. Why, thank you. Who are you wearing? You look great.
How do I turn this thing on?
I think you got it. You got it.
Hello? Oh, hello.
Oh, there you are.
Hi,
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me? Hello, Nighthawk. Very good.
Yes.
I'll see you later.
Very well done.
Well, it's so wonderful to see you guys here, and I'll ask just a few questions. I know you guys are just dying to ask your own
We
questions. there.
ask the
Oh,
questions.
sorry. So sorry. Dankeschön. We have an amazing group of people here that are so excited that Comic-Con has come to their neck of the woods. But how are you enjoying Comic-Con so far? We'll start with you.
We are enjoying it very much.
And I have been doing a bit of shopping.
And I have been given a free book.
Well, before we get to the fans, as you know, we have a lot of different celebrities here from all different types of TV and films. What are you all a fan of in terms of film and television?
I prefer to appear on television, not watch it.
And I've been quite a fan of Succession.
Yes, it's just come to an end. What did you think of the finale?
I haven't got to the end yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
Don't tell us the ending.
Yes. No spoilers here. No.
Spoilers. And I happened to mention a film called Serpico the night before we came, the night we arrived, and then arrived to find that two of the actors, the wonderful Danny Glover and John Cleese, were both here. And it was absolutely wonderful and very fortuitous.
Wow.
Wrong film.
Silverland.
Sorry.
You fool.
What is it called?
Silverland?
Silverado. Sorry.
Stupid pig dog.
Yes. I am a stupid pig dog. Silverado, which was a Western and was absolutely wonderful. And it had those two actors in it by complete chance. Hello.
Hello.
Somebody strike the child from the set.
Now all she needs to do is grow the beard.
Well, we love to see the actors interacting with each other, but what is it like for all of you to have a reunion with each other? I'm sure it's been a while since you've seen each other.
2 weeks.
Yes?
2 weeks too soon.
Oh, really? We were in Harrogate 2 weeks ago. Haworth.
We're in Harrogate now.
Oh,
When
We're
you
in
get to
Haworth.
our age, the memory starts to go, you
oh
know.
dear oh me.
Haworth, was it? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we were in Haworth for a 40s weekend and it was wonderful. And packed with people.
So we've seen quite a lot of each other recently, actually. In fact, we're sick of each other now.
True.
That's why I said it's too soon.
Too soon. Well, it's great to see you all together. When you did all join the show, what was it like? Was the camaraderie instant? Was it an instant chemistry, or did you have to work on it a little bit?
Well, I think it was quite instant, really.
Yes.
In fact, I was remembering the read-through of the pilot this morning. For some reason, I can't think why. And Guy had been at my drama school, or I had been at Guy's drama school, whichever way
We
you
had
want
been
to
in
look at it.
each other's drama school.
And he was a little bit ahead of me, so of course he didn't know who the hell I was, because you never know who anyone is who's
Yes,
below
I did,
you.
because I fancied her like crazy.
And I thought he was a god because he'd been above me and I'd watched him in all sorts of productions. And suddenly there we were, both going to be in the same thing together. And I felt quite overawed.
I have to say, that's the first time I've ever heard that question. And it's a really interesting one.
Yay.
How soon we kind of bonded or how soon we need. I suppose it must have been fairly instant because we got on terribly well, terribly quickly. And so I suppose it was a kind of a very instant bonding, really.
Yeah, I mean, David Croft, who was the co-writer and also producer and director, he was very keen on us all spending time together when we weren't actually in the rehearsal room. So he would make sure that we arrived early enough to have breakfast together in the canteen, and we all had lunch together and things like that. And we would also socialise a bit, maybe after a recording, go out for a meal and things. So he very much encouraged us all to become friends.
But also, when you're in a comedy, you start off by laughing together, don't you?
Yes.
You do, and laughing at each other's work. I mean, which is just wonderful. You know, you get to watch in the BBC rehearsal rooms in North Acton, the Acton Hilton, as we called it. You know, you would stand there and watch other people creating, and it was a joy. And you kind of fall in love with each other because you admire each other's work.
And you're encouraged to watch it because when people are rehearsing, you know where the laughs are going to come. So you kind of follow. Sometimes it's a chore if you're in a comedy that's not very funny, and you're sort of encouraged to watch other people. But with this one, it wasn't difficult.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
It really wasn't hard.
Except we couldn't stop laughing when we were in scenes together, could we?
That was later on, wasn't it? That was about series, 6 or something?
Series 1.
And, and that, if I may say so, was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah. We couldn't look at each other.
We had to look at each other's shoulders. And of course, when you see someone looking at your shoulder when they're
That's
talking
even
to you,
funnier.
that
Yeah.
makes you laugh as well.
When
So
they're
it
trying
was
not to make eye contact. Oh, it was hard work. But your character's allowed to laugh.
Well, she wasn't really. She was supposed to be quite serious, quite humorless and Germanic.
I haven't noticed that bit. Give me a demonstration of you being humorless and Germanic.
Too late now.
We'd love to hear that. It sounds like a very fun set. But as you can see, we have people from all over the world that love the show, and it spans different generations. What is it like to go back and watch yourself on the show? Is it something that you like to do? Is it
Yes,
something you
we
avoid?
love it.
Do you?
Well,
It's a funny show.
yeah. I hated it at the time. I couldn't watch it when we were sort of in the middle of recording it
Really?
or just close afterwards, because I'd look at myself and I'd think, why are you pulling that face? And what are you doing there? Or else I'd have thought I'd done something very funny, which obviously the director hadn't thought was very funny, so it's not actually in the final cut, and I'd go, what happened to that funny bit? But of course now, it's so long ago that I watch it and I watch all of us as different people, and Helga isn't sort of anything to do with me. I look at it and just really enjoy it and laugh a lot.
It's like looking at someone else,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, it is now.
After all this time, it is like looking at someone else. I mean, I notoriously never watch rushes when I make movies, and try never to watch myself on television, because I always want to do it again. I always think, now that's what I did wrong. Can I please sir, can we go back to the beginning? But now, after all this time, it really is like watching a different person, and I don't offend myself quite as much as I used to.
And I also enjoy everybody else's performances too, more than I did at the time. So, yeah, I think it stood the test of time quite well.
It really does,
actually.
yes, and that it's still so funny to this day. But guys, I know you have a lot of questions. Just raise your hand if you would like to ask. We've got some front row guests. Thank you.
Have you managed to apprehend the suspect who's got the Fallen Madonna, the one with the big boobies, and the cracked vase with the big daisies by Van Klompt yet, mister?
Not even the writers could keep up with where the real Fallen Madonna is. By the end of it, if you ask the writers, where is the actual real Fallen Madonna? They say, oh, we lost track of that long ago.
And what's more, it didn't matter. I mean, it was usually down my trousers, of course. To be fair, rolled up in a knockwurst sausage. But who knew whether it was one of the forgeries, or one of the forgeries of the forgeries, or the real one? Nobody. And the writers, as Richard quite rightly says, had long forgotten.
And in the final episode, Helga ended up with one of the Fallen Madonna's boobies in her handbag, which she'd had for 20 years. or
How do
40
you
years.
know it was not a forged
Well, exactly.
boobie?
We never knew if it was a forged boobie or the real boobie.
So that's the end of that question, really, isn't it?
Any more questions?
Blushing at the word booby up on the stage. We have a question right here in the front row.
The lady with the big boobies.
Clearly talking to you.
Definitely a fallen Madonna, if I may say so.
Thank you for the picture, by the way. So I have my personal favourite episode, and it's the one where you get taken to the house where everyone's dressed up as monsters. And it's hilarious.
As what?
The monsters. So you had Edith dressed as a very old witch, and then you had Yvette dressed as the Bride of Frankenstein.
Which series was this?
Series 5? It's
Hello, was
pretend
this
to-
Hello, Hello?
Yes, you
I have
pretended
no
to be British
recollection.
Airman, and Crabtree takes you and he's dressed up as the Resistance.
I can't remember
Fair.
that at all.
No, do you know, nor can I.
Tell me all about it.
It's a very funny episode. My question is, have you got a personal favourite episode, or if you don't, which one do you think you had the most fun making?
Well, I liked. Oh, sorry, you were about
No,
to
no,
talk,
no, no,
weren't
no, 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 you please.
Ladies.
Well, I like the one where there was a part where it was in a dungeon, not Herflick's dungeon, but there were braziers burning, and Helga had her hair down and was a bit dishevelled. And Herflick is playing the organ, and I'm being told to turn a wheel, and there is Rene and the Colonel and Hans all in a cage. And as I turn the wheel, the ceiling is being lowered, and it's sort of wonderfully gothic.
Helga, the wheel.
I'm turning as fast as I can, Herflick.
Faster, Helga, faster.
I can't go any faster, Herflick.
Let down your hair, Helga.
It is down, Herflick.
I enjoyed the one where they were all stalking the general, and there were Rennie and Edith were inside a trolley. You were already in the general's bedroom, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think I'd just done a strip, hadn't I?
that's right, yes. And I think I
usual.
was in a suit of armour. And what were you in, Guy?
That was what I was in a Noel Coward dressing gown.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Rather an attractive shade of sky blue, I thought.
That's right. Handmade.
And yes, handmade. And
You
I
weren't
will-
wearing very much
and I-
at all, were you, Kim?
No, I was wearing a corset as usual.
And I will
And-
never. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just remember that this particular corset, they heaved and heaved to drag my waist in really small. And I ended up with backache for
As
about
you do with
a
a
week
corset.
afterwards. Yeah.
All the girls used to complain in the Victorian era. And I will never forget, and talk about finding it difficult not to laugh, although I wasn't in the scene, so it didn't matter. But I will never forget Richard Gibson limping up the stairs as the suit of armour. It was just hysterical.
In fact, in the original, the idea was that you'd see the face.
Yeah.
The thing part, when I said, wouldn't it be funnier if you don't see the face at
You
all?
didn't need
and
to.
you just tell by the walk who's
Because
inside.
of the stick and the limp, you didn't need to see the
Yeah.
face. It was wonderful. Moving along, my favourite scene. We're always asked this question, and I always give the same answer, which is very boring. But it was the interrogation of Monsieur Alphonse. I am talking about the asks of questions because while I was shooting that, as actors, we obviously we have an extreme amount of concentration, but there's always a little bit of you that is looking on from outside and watching what you're doing. And, that's the bit that finds your marks and times your jokes and all that sort of thing. And that bit of me was saying, a little voice in my ear, here I am on stage at Studio One at the BBC, and I am working with a man I grew up watching in the Carry On films, a consummate comedian, Kenneth Connor, and it was just a wonderful scene and created so much laughter, and I remember it with great fondness.
Why were you interrogating him?
Because we needed to find out why little moleholes were appearing in the graveyard.
Of course.
Why are little mounds of earth appearing in the graveyard? Well, could it perhaps be the mold? That seems a perfectly logical explanation to me.
Thank you. Great question. Another question. Let's see. Just raise your hand if you have a question, guys. I know we missed a couple people. There we go. Front row again. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for the photos. Now, the scene with the exploding coffin and the soil that rains down.
I
Obviously,
haven't quite forgiven her yet.
in that particular scene when Helga looks away, was that actually part of it, or was that she just couldn't stop laughing?
It was because the props men had told me beforehand that although Richard thought he was going to get a little bit of soil on his head, the way I'd had a little bit of soil on my head, in fact, they were going to throw about 3 buckets of soil on
A
it.
full dustbin.
So the anticipation of this happening, him not knowing and me knowing, was just too much. When it actually happened, made this terrible plopping noise and really hit him quite hard on the head as well.
I think it went like this. There was an explosion, then the soil came down.
And a little trickle on my head. Yeah.
That was very amusing. That was not so amusing. And then you burst out laughing,
Yeah.
of course.
So I just thought if I turned my head away, maybe nobody would notice. But you all did.
Any more questions? We have time for just a couple more questions in the crowd. Don't be shy. Oh, we've got one over here, Miss Carrie Ann, our cosplay queen.
Hi, if you could have played any other role in the series, which ones would you have chosen?
Helga. I wore those anyway.
Madam Fanny, because I would have got to spend most of the time in bed.
The
flashing knobs. And where's my paycheck? I mean, what a wonderful way to earn a living.
It's like Lenny Henry doing the Premier in ads, isn't it?
Exactly.
Lie down, get paid.
Get paid. Yes. Where's my car?
And I don't know. I like playing Helga so much. I can't imagine having played anybody else.
Well, I'd
Oh,
love
come
to-
on.
Mm.
Oh, all right then. I would have liked to have played von Schmalhausen. I could have been hit over the head with a knockfirst.
We'd have had you in fishnets anyway.
Well, going back to the beginning of how you all landed the role, what was the process like for becoming a part of the show? The audition or how you initially got the part?
Well, we auditioned. How else do you think we got the job? No, David knew all of us slightly, as with a lot of his casting. He had an idea about people. He'd often think, I wonder where I can put that. And I was at a party where David and his wife were, and they were telling tasteless German jokes, like, first, the good news. The prisoner of war prisoner camp commandant saying, would you like the good news first or the bad news? First, the good news. Half of you will be going to Bavaria, half of you will be going to Berlin. Now the bad news. The top half will be going to Bavaria, and the bottom half will be going to Berlin. And I saw David and Anne putting their heads together, talking about it, and I thought, oh, they're going to evict me from the party. But they were saying, he can do a German accent, get him in. So I read, and then heard nothing about it for weeks, and then I assumed I hadn't got the role. And I asked my agent, and she said, oh, you got that, you start on Monday. And that was that.
Well, I also had known David Croft from quite a long time ago when he'd been at a theatre that I was a student ASM in, which was before I went to drama school. I got a job at a local rep theatre, being what's called a student assistant stage manager, which sounds very grand, but it just means you run around making coffee and ironing shirts and being a complete general dog's body from 10 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. And David Croft had come along having written this musical that was going into the West End. And I thought, oh, I really want to go to the West End. I want to get away from the provinces and ironing shirts and running around and being a dog's body. So I nagged him and nagged him and nagged him to take me as one of the stage crew to the West End. But because I was so inexperienced, and in those days, to become a full member of Equity, you had to work for 40 weeks in rep, or so many days in the theatre, in television, that I didn't qualify. I couldn't go to the West End. So I just kept in touch with him. And I did my 3 years at drama school, and I used to send him Christmas cards. And then after I'd had my children, I decided I was only doing TV commercials, and I didn't want to go away anymore. I'd been working in the theatre quite a lot. And now I had small children. I didn't want to go away for very long, but I wanted to work again. So there were 3 people who I knew who I thought, could help me. And one of them was David Croft. And I wrote all 3 of these chaps a letter, and I got a job out of one of them, dinner out of another one. And David Croft said, oh, I can't. I said, I'm popping down to London next week. can we meet? And he said, I can't meet you next week, darling, but what's your German accent like? And I said, oh, brilliant. It was absolutely terrible, actually. But I sort of tried to practice and got worse and worse. And he said, so the week after next, pop in, I'll arrange time, and you can read for this part, which I did. And I got there really early and read the whole script and just thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever read in all my life.
And your Swedish accent was brilliant.
My Swedish accent was marvellous. And German accent not so good. But anyway, then a bit like Richard, I didn't hear anything. And so eventually I phoned up David to ask if I had got the job. And I got put through to the gallery, and he was directing an episode of It Ain't Half Hot, Mum, at the time. And he was obviously in a bit of a rush. And he went, hello. And I went, oh, David, it's Kim here. I was just wondering if I'd got the part of Helga or not. And he said, oh, yes, darling, I think you probably have. Got to go now. Bye. So that was it.
And I, by contrast, in every possible way, to my two colleagues, I didn't know David Croft at all, and he certainly didn't know me. He was persuaded to see me by my agent, who happened also to represent Carmen Silvera. And Carmen, who played Madame Edith, had worked for him before, of course, in Dad's Army. She had a lovely part as a sort of lover of, or potential lover of Captain Mannering. And so my agent said, while you're seeing Carmen for this role, would you please see my client Guy Steiner? I really think you'd like to meet. Anyway, long story short, he said, oh, all right. If I must. So I went along to the BBC, and like Kim, I sat in the foyer at Television Centre, screaming with laughter and annoying everybody around me. And eventually I was summoned up into the presence. And it was David and his then assistant, Susie Belbin. And I read 2 parts, actually. I read Herr Flick, simply because there were more lines and he wanted to hear my German accent. And then
you didn't get the job then, no?
I think it was already cast. And then I read Gruber, which is the part I was up for. And again, by contrast with my friends, and this is the only time this has ever happened to me, he dismissed me from the presence. And as I walked out the door, he said, oh, Guy, the job's yours if you want it. And it's never happened to me before, and it's never, alas, never happened to me since. But I had the job as I left the room, and it was wonderful. 10 years of wondrousness, and lucky me.
Lucky us. Round of applause, because we are the ones that have all the great memories, thanks to all of you. For the German accent, what studying did you do to perfect it? What was helpful?
Well, mine was sheer terror, because we had 10 days to rehearse the pilot. And after about 5 days, David sidled up to me and said, darling, I think you need to work on your German accent, which I thought was fine. But I was being very sort of Swedish, and I had to say butter and various things like this. And so I went home and was practicing like mad. And they had records. I'd got a record, a BBC record of accents.
Yes.
And I just played this thing again and again and again and sort of mimicked it. But it was absolute terror, because I thought, oh my God, he's going to cast somebody else because I can't do the accent.
Oh. And your accent is so good now.
Her English accent's coming along quite nicely too.
Now that I think's less good. Now again, by contrast with my colleague, my German accent was already quite good, because I speak quite good German, and did then. I'm very, very out of practice now, but and had lived for quite a while in Germany, so it came very naturally to me.
At those days, I don't think I had a record player, so I couldn't have listened to that. But all I could remember was Conrad Veidt in Casablanca, and he talks like this. Yeah. And I saw it again the other night, and you could hear traces of it, because they were all meant to be kind of parodies of classic war films, and it was really a send-up of all the cliches in war films. Yeah. And Conrad Veidt was the ultimate German actor. And but it was only from memory, really, because there were no DVD
Weren't
players,
DVDs
and
then,
you
or-
couldn't go.
no.
You couldn't record things, so you just had to remember things. And I think I'm beginning to get it right. What do you think?
Beautiful. Gorgeous. Guys, we have time for just a couple more questions. If you have any questions for our panel, don't be shy. Raise your hand and we will get the microphone to you. Scooby looks like he's thinking about something over there. Any more questions, guys, for our panel? Ask now or forever hold your peace. We've got one from this lovely lady here. They will be over at the autograph and photo area, but it's a lot more fun for us all to hear the questions. So thank you.
Can we possibly have Helga's iconic "Come Here"?
Come in here!
We're putting you to work. As you can see around Harrogate, we've had some amazing cosplay and amazing costumes that you've seen. First of all, a round of applause for how amazing they look, because that's very cool, very important for us to see that. But what is it like when people come up to you dressed as your characters, as cosplay from the show?
It's a bit weird. Nobody made them do it.
Yeah, it's it is strange. It is weird. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I've just seen a man walking down in a hair flick coat, not in fancy dress. We had a moment as we passed each other.
I would say that's cosplay. This is cos. These are our costumes. We don't do cosplay. We wear our costumes.
Right. And is
Yeah.
there something about putting it on that sort of gets you back into the character?
Definitely.
Is it something that
Yeah.
really makes you
I mean, like
nostalgic?
this morning, I sort of fell out of bed and went down for a bit of a hotel breakfast and staggered back up to my room looking all dishevelled.
And I can assure you she did look all disheveled. I happened to be
Confirming.
at breakfast with her.
And when they bring breakfast to your room and they knock on the door, what do you say?
go away.
Bring it in
Yes,
here.
bring it in. And but then you get into all the smart clothes and trowel on the makeup, pop the wig on, and there she is.
I like the days when you have to get dressed first before having breakfast, and then she'll be staying in the hotel, both of us, but she'd always get there first. And the other people in the hotel who don't know why we're there, what we're doing, they go down to eat their breakfast, and there's Helga sitting, having bacon and egg.
It's wonderfully incongruous. That I love that.
But a lady said to me at the hotel yesterday, I walked down the stairs to meet up to come here, and there was a lady on one of the floors, and I walked past her, and she smiled at me, and I said, good morning, and she said, you look very smart.
And you do indeed. Well, after we leave Harrogate, and again, this is our first time in Yorkshire, you guys have been great. What do you have to look forward to, either professionally, personally? What are you looking forward to when you leave here?
Aren't we doing a film, all three of us?
Well, we hope we are, yes. hopefully.
We hope we are all three doing a film together in August.
Nothing to do with the
nothing
lower
whatever
at all.
to do with it. We're doing it. Hopefully, I mean, if it's signed off on, and I think it pretty much is. It's a romantic comedy, believe it or not.
But you never know until the contract
But you
is
never
signed.
know
Always
until
the
the
way.
contract is signed. And I'm doing a television series called The Rivals for Disney, which I'm really looking forward to. And
How lovely. Well, guys, last chance for any more questions to our panel. We have time for one more question. And this lovely gentleman is going to be our final question. Thank you, sir.
I suppose my question would be, a few years ago, we all know they did the wonderful Dad's Army thing. I suppose my question would be, if they ever decided to do a crossover with a Lower Low in a movie, would you ever say yes to reprising your roles for it?
I don't think so. I quite like seeing myself repeated on the telly, but I think I think that's it, really.
absolutely
But I'm quite happy
not.
to move on.
If we did, she'd be playing Fanny up in the bed. I'd be Monsieur Leclerc and he'd be the Colonel.
Yeah. Parenthetically, of course, I could probably comfortably wear Richard Marner's costume now. Alas.
Well, you all have been lovely. Any final words to your fans here in Yorkshire that have come to see you today?
Go away or you will be shot.
Don't look at me, darling. I can't top that.
Well, we'll end it there. Thank you guys so much for your amazing questions. And don't forget, they're here for the rest of the day. You've definitely got to go get your photo and autograph from these legends of the stage and screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the cast of Allo, Allo.